Great to have you with us, Nicole, because you've got real expertise when it comes to marketplaces, and certainly Amazon's marketplace is something that Elizabeth Warren is really focusing on. Your first take on whether venture capital is put off from funding startups that might take on these behemoths?
Hi, Caroline. Yeah, I was surprised to read this because I think the best story to listen to is always the one that the data tells you. And if we look at the data right now, the funding environment has never been quite this frothy. There are certainly a huge number of companies being funded, and we haven't really seen a drop-off in any way. And so certainly the VCs that I speak to are saying, hey, we are 10 years through a bull run, and that is factoring into things. Valuations are very high. That is factoring in. But there's really good companies out there raising money, and just the funding numbers tell a very different picture to the one that Elizabeth is talking about.
OK, so can you give us any examples or indeed some sort of areas where some of these new innovative companies are still managing to battle their way through despite the behemoths such as Amazon?
Yeah, of course. So there's a company that we've invested in called Rothy's that has really taken America by storm. It's a shoe company made of plastic recycled bottles. And if you speak to the folks over at Rothy's, they've had people leave from Google or Nike, big established companies, and they've come over to Rothy's because they have said these startups are able to see a trend and to really turn it around so that these shoes can go from idea to being in the customer's hands within about 6 weeks, whereas that can take 1 to 2 years at the big established companies. And so I think it's really that nimbleness of startups that is special.
I have to say, if I get advertised via Instagram for a Rothy one more time, I said they seem to have got me in their line of sight, Nicole. What about the ways in which we're starting to see Amazon, interestingly, moving away not just from just online, but really making an indent and rumblings when it comes to bricks and mortar? Talks of new grocery outlets, and also we've seen startups like Warby Parker getting into the mall area, starting to actually revitalize there. What are some of the startups that you're backing, some of these very much predominantly digitally focused companies looking at to retail, to sell to us when it comes to offline as well as online?
I think that offline is going to be an increasing trend for these companies that were originally digitally native vertical brands. I think it's not just omni-channel, but it's more be everywhere that the customer is. And so, yes, we're seeing it with Amazon. We were original investors in Bonobos, and when they started to go into retail, we used to think about it as a cost-neutral marketing channel for them. And so we'd say whenever they open up a store, it actually is very profitable for them because there's a halo effect for their entire online business. And now that's actually shifted so that offline stores can be profitable marketing channels for businesses. So not only are they profitable in the store, and Rothy's see really great sales per square foot, but in addition to that, it's really driving business over to the online side of the company, which is great to see.
Yeah, I like it, looking at some of your portfolio companies there, Nicole, and it strikes me as two women sat here on International Women's Day. Briefly, you're in Girlboss, you're in Goop, you're in a number of companies that are driven by female leaders. Is that something that you look at?
That's something that is certainly very important because I only invest in consumer companies, and as we know, most of the consumer decisions in any household are made by a woman, and so it makes sense to have a really true, authentic founder at the helm of the business. And so, yeah, you certainly mentioned a couple. So Girlboss and Goop are two that we're super excited about. Dote, which is a virtual mall, is one that is really great. And, you know, there's many in our portfolio of female founders.